Hi guys, you're welcome to Delani's here. We do everything fashion. If you're new to our channel, please subscribe. Today we're gonna be doing a no symbol and a no side symbol. So before we start, if you're new, please subscribe and invite your friends also. So first off, before we start, we're gonna get our fabric. This is like a 1/2 inch of fabric. I folded into 2, and then I'm gonna be folding into 4. Right, I'm folding into 2 and I'm going to be folding into 4. So this is in no side symbols, right? So after folding into 4, I'm going to be marking 7 inches. Like I'm going to be getting 7 inches from the bottom. It's like trying to create a rectangle. So now this 7 inches varies, right? Depends on how big you want the bow or how wide you want the bow to look. But I'm using 7 inches for this because I want like a relatively small kind of bow. So now for the wideness of the bow, see, I squeeze it to see how small it will look. So for the wideness of the bow, I am going to be using I'm trying to figure out how small I want it to look, right? So I decided to use 11 inches. So if you want your bow bigger and wider, you can increase the measurements to suit what you want. But for this size, I used 7 inches by 11 inches. So after doing this, I'm just going to join my lines, making sure my folded rectangle is on point. 7 inches by 11 inches. So now I'm going to cut through, right? So now let's cut through. So after cutting through, I'm gonna get my padded or the soft padded or tissue gum. I'm gonna be using the soft one, right? So this is it. I'm gonna be cutting the same shape, whatever I have here. I'm going to be placing it on. You could iron first and then cut out. It all depends on what you want. But for this, unfortunately, I couldn't iron. It wasn't the gum wasn't so strong, so it wasn't working. So for this, I just did my cutting directly, right? I cut directly and then I tried to iron again. It wasn't working. Then I just went ahead to sew. So now you're going to cut. So whatever size you have, just place your satin on top of the padded or fusible interfacing, whatever you're using, just to give it little weight, right? This is a soft one, this is a lightweight one, just to give it little weight. So after doing this, I tried ironing and then I went to the sewing machine. So now we are at the sewing machine. Some people want to stitch down the padded, but I did not. So what I did is I folded into 2. So I'm folding into 2 this way, not the other way. Please notice I'm folding the 11 inches length, right? I'm folding into 2 and then I'm going to be sewing 1/2 inch all the way down. So let's sew 1/2 inch all the way down. So now I am done sewing the 1/2 inch. I'm just I'm locking up my stitch and then I'm going to do some little trimming. So I'm just going to trim off the extras off. I'm trimming off the extras, and then after doing this, I'm going to be turning it inside out, right? So I'm going to take this, I'm going to turn it inside out to get the right face, right? So I'm turning it inside out. Seems a little bit hard for me because of how I put my hand all through. I just wanted everything out. So after turning inside out, I'm going to be taking to the ironing board. You see the way I folded it, you see the way the way this is, the seam line is going to be in the middle this way. So now I'm going to take to the pressing board and I'm going to iron just like this. So let me iron. So now I'm back, it's all ironed. I'm going to fold this way. So if you notice, the seam line is still in the middle and I'm folding like this. So I am sewing on, the seam line is the wrong side for me. So I am sewing on the wrong side. So I'm just going to trim to make sure everything is equal for me. If it is equal, then I can sew up. If not, I'm just going to do a little trimming. So now I'm going to sit back and I'm going to sew just 1/2 inch. Also, I'm going to sew with 1/2 inch, just like so. Same with 1/2 inch. And then I'll do another trimming. So you get to do lots of trimmings. So that's why I used 11 inches, right? If you want, you could do 14 inches. Depends on how big or how wide you want your bow to look, right? Depends on what you want to do. Depends on how big or how wide you want your bow to look. So now I am done with this. So I'm going to take to the ironing board, also iron, and then I'm going to take my center. So if you look at it very well, your seams are, you're sewing, the seam line is inside, it's not on the side, right? So I want to iron and then bring it back. So now I'm done. I've ironed and I'm trying to fold my bow. So now I don't want to use tulle. Sometimes I use tulle to tie the bow, but now I want to use this the sugar lace, right? So using the sugar lace, I'm just going to fold my sugar lace into 2. So you can get a sugar lace 4 inches wide, and then the length depends on how big your bow is and how you want it to go around. So I'm going to fold my sugar lace into 2, and then I'm going to sew 1/2 inch and then turn it out. So let's do that together. So now it's folded into 2. I'm just going to sew 1/2 inch all the way down, and then I'll turn it out, and then I'm going to use it to close up my bow. It's that simple. So 1/2 inch now. Okay, so here I'm just gonna sew the 1/2 inch, trim out the excesses, and then turn it inside out, right? So after I'm done turning inside out, I'm gonna iron it. Same way, I'm gonna make sure the seam line is in the middle, it's facing the other side, it's not on one side, it's just facing the bottom, right? So now I'm trying to figure out how I want to fold my bow. Depends on what I want. See, the seam line is in the middle, it's not on one side. So now I'm going to use the wrong side. That's where the seam line is. I'm going to use it to fold my bow, and then I'm going to sew on the wrong side. And that's because after sewing, I want to turn it in so that the wrong side is inside, while the right side is facing out. You get me? So now I'm just going to sew with 1/2 inch. I'll make sure it's tight enough to hold the bow and free enough for me to turn it, right? So you just have to be careful. So I'm going to trim it off, and then I'm going to flip it over, right? You see what I did here? So I'm going to trim it off, and then I'm going to flip it over, right? So after I've flipped it over, I'll make sure I get to arrange my bow to my taste, right? Arrange your bow to the way you want it to look. All right, so I'm just trying to make sure my bow is well placed, right? So just watch how I do it. So I'm just arranging the bow, making sure that it's standing out well, making sure it's puffy. So I'm going to push my hand to make sure it looks puffy and looks really bow like a Minnie or Minnie Mouse bow, right? Yeah. So after doing that, I'm just going to mark where I want to put my what do they call this stuff, press buttons, right? My press buttons, and then it's attached. So if you liked this video, if you enjoyed watching, please don't forget to subscribe, share, save and stuff, and invite your friends over. Thank you.